Pause. Imagine this. Above your head tonight, there are more stars than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. Over 200 billion trillion of them. It's the biggest, grandest lottery ever conceived, scattered across a universe 93 billion light-years wide. If even the tiniest percentage of those stars had planets where life could get started, doesn't it feel like we should be drowning in cosmic company? Picture it. Alien cities glittering across the galaxy. Spaceship traffic jams zipping past otherworldly billboards. The air around us thick with radio chatter from civilizations millions of years ahead of ours, maybe advertising their interstellar pizza joints. But look up on any clear night. You see only silence, an empty cosmic void staring back at us. And for decades, astronomers have swept the skies with our most sensitive telescopes, listening for a single alien word. Nothing. Not even a cosmic hello. Why? Let me tell you a story that might send shivers down your spine. It's 1950. Los Alamos, New Mexico. A handful of scientists, the sort of people who joke about UFOs over tuna sandwiches, are puzzling over the fact that, on paper, the universe should be swarming with life. As the laughter dies down, Enrico Fermi leans in and quietly asks, "Where is everybody?" This was more than a party trick. His calculation was devastating. With so many opportunities for life, shouldn't the heavens be saturated with signals, artifacts, proof? And yet, against every probability, the universe appears dead silent. That, right there, is the Fermi Paradox, the cosmic riddle that keeps scientists up at night and gives every stargazer pause. It's not just an astrophysical head-scratcher. It's a gut punch to human exceptionalism, a question that cuts to the core of what it means to be special, or astonishingly, heartbreakingly alone. Let's get personal for a second. Maybe you're watching this sprawled on your bed at midnight, or hunched over your phone at a bus stop, or half dreaming on the other side of the world. Where are you right now? What's the time? When was the last time you looked up and wondered if someone, something might be looking back? Because deep down, the question, are we alone, isn't just about distant aliens. It's about you, me, all of us, searching for meaning in a universe that seems catatonically indifferent to our existence. And hey, if the thought of unraveling these mysteries keeps you awake, trust me, you're among friends here. Subscribe, join our small but fearless crew of cosmic explorers, and let's chase the biggest questions together. Here's what you can expect as we hunt for answers. We're diving into a mystery that links the very beginnings of life to the fate of the farthest galaxies. We'll sift through numbers even more mind-blowing than you can guess, and encounter solutions that get more unsettling the deeper we dig. The excuses just don't add up. Maybe life is rare, but with so many rolls of the cosmic dice, shouldn't at least one other planet have managed to call us collect by now? And if not, what terrible surprise are we missing? So stick with me for the next phase. Because the silence isn't just weird. It might be a warning. The real horror starts with a single profound idea. The Great Filter. And understanding it just might turn the universe from a place of hopeful wonder into the most terrifying story you've ever heard. Ready? Because what comes next makes the silence feel like the scariest sound in existence. Think of the universe as the ultimate obstacle course, a gauntlet so brutal that almost every runner stumbles, falls, and is never heard from again. That's the unnerving essence of the Great Filter, a concept so stark and chilling that once you've heard it, you can never really look at the night sky the same way. The idea is almost painfully simple. Somewhere along the long road from cosmic dust to galaxy-spanning empires, there's a point, a hurdle, a checkpoint, where nearly everyone, every species, every would-be civilization just fails. Imagine starting a video game with billions of players, and at each level, almost every contestant gets knocked out. Only a vanishingly tiny few make it to the next round. let alone the end. And here's the twist. We have no clue which level we're actually on. Let's break down the levels of this cosmic challenge, each one more improbable than the last. Level 1, just rolling the right dice to have a comfortable star and a planet in the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, where water can exist. Not much of a problem, it seemed, until we actually started discovering exoplanets in the last few decades and realized just how many are too small, too fried, too icy, or way too bombarded by cosmic radiation to even be considered. Scientists found that most star systems aren't exactly cozy neighborhoods. Imagine endless suburbs with houses that are either flooded or on fire. Finding the Earth-like fixer-upper is a win in itself. But say you've done that. Welcome to level 2. Now you need life itself. Not just any kind of life, but molecules that can copy themselves. Abiogenesis, as scientists call it. It's the step from soupy chemicals to little self-replicating chemical machines. You can think of this as the moment the universe takes its first selfie. Here's the insanity. We don't even know how rare this is. The famous Miller-Urey experiment in the 1950s showed that you can maybe spark up some basic building blocks like amino acids, but getting from that to an actual living thing is like going from Lego bricks to building a battling robot that can self-assemble. Some estimates put the odds at 1 in a trillion, a billion trillion. Imagine if every grain of sand on Earth was another Earth-like planet, and maybe, only one of them actually ended up with life. Miraculously, you make it to level 3. Now that primordial goo's contenders have to organize into cells, tiny fortresses that keep the outside world at bay, manage energy, and crucially, survive long enough to multiply. If they don't, billions of years of evolution just stall out. The Earth spent nearly 2 billion years in this microbial holding pattern, with only simple bacteria-like life, nowhere close to sparkly cities or radio signals. Picture entire planets as gorgeous but dumb, infinitely patient, never making it past bacteria, a cosmic karaoke night where nobody ever learns the words. But let's say the universe gets lucky, a true Hollywood moment. Level 4. Something truly weird happens. 2 cells, each with its own agenda, merge instead of fight. This unexpected roommate situation gives rise to complex cells, eukaryotes, the kind that make plants, animals, and ultimately you. It's such an against-the-odds fluke that it appears to have happened exactly once in Earth's history. Billions of years, countless chances, one successful partnership. It's like the cosmic equivalent of a soccer ball landing in a teacup on the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Possible, just barely, but staggeringly rare. Next up, level 5, arguably the most outrageous, sex. Not the steamy Hollywood kind, but a mind-bending leap of evolutionary complexity. Sharing genetics with a partner, shuffling the DNA deck, and creating offspring almost totally unlike the parents. This ramps up complexity, creates immune systems, brains, new body plans. But asexual life forms thrive just fine, and many species never adopt the hassle of mixing DNA with strangers. So this hurdle knocks out more contenders. Now, level 6, multicellular life. It's one thing to be a single cell doing all your own chores, but being part of a coordinated, differentiated team is a high-wire act. Cells have to cooperate, trust each other, and specialize. Most planets, if they ever get this far, might remain a lonely, spectacular mat of green slime forever. On Earth, only one lineage finally made the jump to level 7. Beings with big brains, tool use, and by some wild quirk of chance, intelligence. Dinosaurs ruled the world for 165 million years and never tried to build radios. Dolphins have large brains and 0 written languages. Even with all the raw ingredients, Earth produced technological intelligence exactly once, and only at the absolute last possible moment before the next extinction meteor. Every checkpoint we've passed looks less like inevitable progress and more like an unbroken chain of fluke events. And the weirdest thing, we don't know if the great filter is somewhere behind us, meaning we've already done the hard part, or if it's just ahead and waiting, which would mean almost nobody survives the next few steps. It's the cosmic equivalent of rounding a corner after a marathon and discovering the real race is only just beginning. Just how close have we come to tripping on the last unseeable hurdle? But brace yourself. What comes next isn't just about lucky molecules or patient cells. It's about inventions, choices, and dangers that no brute force of evolution could ever prepare us for. Are we the first species to clear these ancient bottlenecks, or the next in line for an extinction written by our own hand? The filter may not lie in our distant past, but in the razor edge of our future, and we're heading straight for it. So now we face the moment of truth. Even if humanity has miraculously leapt over the hardest hurdles of biology and evolution, what if the real great filter is only now coming into view? Not ancient, cosmic, or natural. Our own inventions and the existential traps we've built for ourselves. Here's where the story veers away from accidental good luck and bursts right into a perilous human-made minefield, the kind that feels a little too familiar when you look at our headlines or our history. Because the filter, if it waits ahead, might look an awful lot like the world outside your window, filled with nukes, warming seas, code running faster than thought, and a terrifying tangle of global crises just waiting for the wrong spark. Let's start with nuclear weapons, that uniquely modern Pandora's box we cracked open less than a century ago. In 1945, we split the atom and, in a thunderclap, split human destiny in two. One path leads onward, the other straight to oblivion. Since then, we've come frighteningly close to Armageddon more times than we publicize. Like that nerve-shredding moment in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when Soviet submarine officer Vasily Arkhipov single-handedly refused to launch a nuke and may have saved the entire world. Or the silent courage of Stanislav Petrov in 1983, who judged a radar warning of incoming US missiles as a glitch and didn't pull the trigger on the automatic response. It was a coin toss, a frown, a cold sweat, a hesitation, and the world survived. Everyone jokes about the push of a button, but sometimes the fate of every living thing on Earth genuinely hangs on the split-second instincts of one person, trapped in a bunker, reading data that might be wrong. That's not just drama. That's the closest thing to real-life Russian roulette humanity has ever played. But apocalypses aren't always loud. Consider climate change, the slow-motion disaster that seeps into everything over decades. It's not a movie meteor or a crack of doom explosion. It's tide lines inching higher, crops withering, wildfires erasing entire maps. Here's what's fiendish about it. Every year feels a lot like the last, just enough for people to adapt, just enough wiggle room for us to delay, negotiate, and hope. But the system is a ticking time bomb, storing up momentum that once triggered, cascades into runaway change. There's no single villain, just billions of daily choices all over the globe. A chemical here, a degree there, 100,000 delayed decisions melting the world, while our institutions struggle to act fast enough. Are we really equipped, psychologically, politically, even emotionally, to face threats so huge, so slow, and so easy to ignore until they're impossible to outrun? Now, add another layer of tension, one so new it barely existed in science fiction a lifetime ago: machine intelligence. Artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is the point where computers are as smart as people, and then, in a flash, race ahead, self-improving, rewriting their own code, possibly leaving us powerless to shape, control, or even understand their decisions. It's not just science fiction anymore. Every month, AI gets better at tasks humans once thought sacred: writing, strategizing, diagnosing disease, even inventing new AI. The terrifying thing isn't that they might rebel with red eyes glowing. It's that we can't guarantee they'll share our values at all. What if we, in designing supremely efficient minds, forget to program in kindness or the wish for humanity to stick around? It's not an angry AI apocalypse. It could simply be indifference, where the universe gets rearranged in ways no one intended and there's no one left to protest. You only get one shot at designing safe superintelligence. The margin for error? Zero. But the horror doesn't stop at any single threat. What's dawning on thinkers everywhere is the realization that these dangers aren't just isolated. They feed off each other, creating a network of risk, a web so tangled that pulling on one strand might snap the entire thing. Imagine climate change triggers food shortages, which in turn stoke political chaos and nuclear standoffs. Or the arms race for AI speeds up, because each nation fears being left vulnerable, not just to others, but to AI-run cyber attacks, autonomous drones, things we haven't even dreamed up yet. The problem isn't a single looming domino. It's that the dominoes are stacked in all directions, and the game just keeps accelerating. And here's a hard truth. Humanity, for all our brilliance, still acts like a species in denial whenever things get too big, too abstract, or too painful to contemplate. We're hardwired to respond to immediate threats, not ones that feel like slow, distant, tomorrow problems. That's why we procrastinate, why nations bicker over climate policies or disarmament, why safety teams get outvoted by profits. Our evolutionary instincts, the same ones that got us up the ladder in the first place, might be useless or even dangerous for facing the peril of a modern civilization-scale threats. Consider this and feel the tension growing. We've cleared so many impossibly hard hurdles in our past, but now it might be our own cleverness, our own inventions, that finally sets the ultimate trap. This isn't just another threat in a long string of challenges. It's the possibility that every cosmic runner who made it this far tripped, not on a fluke of geology or an astronomical accident, but because their own hands built mechanisms they could not shut off. The filter could be waiting right now, hidden in lab code, warming air, or a midnight miscalculation. It's up to us, alone, to spot it in time. Still, what if the great filter is even subtler? What if the greatest danger isn't sudden extinction, but slow transformation? Losing what it means to be human, bit by bit, to the machines and digital realities we invented. The next phase might be creepier than any apocalypse, a slide into cosmic irrelevance, not because we vanished, but because we forgot why the universe ever mattered at all. Here's where things get twisty. Not with fiery ends, but with futures so strange they threaten something subtler, and maybe even more chilling. The disappearance of curiosity, ambition, or even reality itself. What if the great filter isn't about abrupt extinction, but instead about the slow, soft fade of cosmic relevance? Take a breath and imagine a world where life doesn't vanish with a bang, but with a yawn, as we drift into digital wonderlands or become so changed by our own creations that the galaxy simply never notices us again. This is the realm of soft filters, not instant doom, but gradual transformations that mean no one ever picks up our call, because we stopped making it. Consider advanced AI again, not the kind that declares war, but the kind that becomes such a brilliant problem solver, such a seamless presence that human agency dwindles. Picture a civilization where every decision, job, or creative leap is delegated to machines, until the old, bumbling, flawed apes that invented it all are simply no longer relevant. In trying to build minds that surpass us, do we risk building caretakers who, quite logically, see no reason to preserve our quirks and mysteries? Maybe the story doesn't end with guns or superviruses, but with a gentle, endless handoff, as artificial superintelligence becomes the new descendant of Earth, eventually forgetting or discarding the original version. But let's take it further. Right now, brain-computer interfaces and neural enhancement are no longer idle science fiction. Picture a future where uploading your mind, a perfect memory, a self that never ages or tires, is as easy as sending a photo to the cloud. Would you trade your fragile, awkward biology for an endless, high-definition simulation? What if most people would? If our successors choose paradise over progress, or simulated pleasure over messy exploration, who would ever bother to build starships or send beacons into the dark? Imagine entire worlds locked in perfect video games or shared lucid dreams. They'd leave no signals, nothing that a distant alien astronomer might recognize as life or intelligence. The point isn't that humanity perishes, but becomes untraceable, dissolving into bits of digital perfection rather than venturing out into the wild cosmic woodlands. Then there's the lotus eater trap, named for the mythic people who, after tasting the lotus, lost all desire to return home. Maybe consciousness itself is inherently fragile. As species flourish, prosper, and invent ways to ease every discomfort, perhaps the very drive to seek new horizons withers. Already you see it in miniature. Societies where comfort and escapism erode curiosity, where immersive tech replaces wild adventure, where space programs are cut while video game worlds balloon with new digital frontiers. The closer we get to controlling our environment, the less incentive there is to leave the comfort bubble of our own making. If every advanced society finds it easier to turn inward, into self-medicating pleasure domes or hyper-personal virtual universes, who's left to shine a signal into the void? Now, wrap your mind around the complexity trap. Civilization, progress, technology, they've all exploded in the last 100 years. But for every new tool, there's a web of social, legal, and ethical knots. Picture a society where not a single person understands how everything works, where the next accident isn't even malicious, but a cascade of unnoticed errors in systems too tangled for anyone to debug. This isn't a distant worry. It's already happening with global finance, internet infrastructure, supply chains, and climate systems. The faster we build, the more brittle we become. Like a skyscraper built one story higher than the engineers can calculate. A beautiful marvel waiting for the wrong gust of wind. All these scenarios share something in common. Instead of a sudden dramatic ending, humanity could simply lose the desire or the organizational ability to play the cosmic game. Maybe the galaxy isn't quiet because it's empty, but because everyone got too comfortable or too distracted, nursing existential Netflix binges while the rest of creation spins on. The scariest silence may not be death, but endless, utterly undetectable absorption into pleasure, apathy, or chaos. But there's still one other layer of terror. What if the universe itself is actively hostile to our emergence? Or, even darker, if it's teeming with things that don't want to be found? Predators lurking in a cosmic dark forest. And that, chillingly, is where we're headed next. This is where the story shifts from, what if we fail ourselves, to, what if the universe itself is set up so nobody wins? The final, darkest possibilities go beyond anything we can engineer or prevent. Imagine for a second that after all these hurdles, the real test is the universe itself. Maybe it holds dangers so vast and impersonal that every civilization is doomed, no matter how wise or cautious they become. There are cosmic catastrophes we're only beginning to glimpse, gamma-ray bursts that could sterilize entire solar systems in an instant, black holes erupting with energy, or ancient stars dying so violently that the ground rules of reality itself are rewritten. And then comes the truly shattering prospect that our attempts to understand or manipulate physical laws could end everything. Some physicists worry about vacuum decay, the idea that just one wrong high-energy experiment, on some advanced alien world, or maybe even ours, could unravel space and time itself, wiping out everything in the blink of a cosmic eye. It's like being in a room full of people fiddling with levers they don't fully understand, never knowing which one explodes the building. But as if that wasn't enough, now consider the dark forest scenario, a nightmare straight from the deepest shadow of science fiction. Imagine the galaxy not as an empty void, but as a silent, desperate hunting ground. Every civilization hiding, terrified to make a sound, because anyone who shouts out risks being destroyed by something older, more powerful, and utterly ruthless. Here, the first message is the last. Silence is survival. The more you reach out, the more risk you attract patrolling predators who have learned that the only way to guarantee their own safety is to shoot first and never ask questions. Each civilization watches, waits, and erases anything that announces itself. A permanent game of hide and seek, where the losers vanish forever and the winners are invisible by necessity. Blend that with the looming knowledge that even if there are no predators, the universe might just be indifferent, so vast, so dark, that our entire epoch of consciousness blinks out without a trace, washed away by entropy, natural disasters, or laws we haven't yet discovered. Our best science says most of the cosmos is made up of dark matter and dark energy, stuff we can barely detect, let alone control. What if the true rules for survival lie somewhere in those invisible forces? And yet, the scariest realization of all is that, in spite of all these dangers, the responsibility still falls to us, right now, in this tiny fragment of cosmic time. We are the first generation that can see the risks with eyes wide open. Every day that passes without receiving a signal from another world is another tick of a silent countdown, one that might mean we've beaten the odds, or that we're just next in line. Consider the stakes. On the grandest scale, it's not just about whether humanity survives, but whether complexity, consciousness, and meaning get to exist anywhere at all. If the great filter lies behind us, then we are miraculous, statistical unicorns, living proof that the impossible sometimes happens. But if it's lurking just ahead, we're the suspenseful last chapter in a cosmic tragedy. So, when you look up at the stars tonight, what do you feel? Hope, dread, awe, or that crawling sensation that humankind is racing against a clock it can't even see? Because whether the great filter is an evolutionary wall already scaled, a minefield of technological dangers waiting in our path, or some unimaginable doom woven into the universe itself, this much is certain. For the first time, we hold the pen to write the next page. Our choices about technology, curiosity, sharing, and cooperation are rewriting not just the future, but maybe the natural history of the universe. Maybe we're on the brink of transcending the filter, of breaking the silence forever. Or perhaps every moment we spend pondering, arguing, moving too slowly is one step closer to joining the tombstones marked by stars. That final answer lingers tantalizingly out of reach. Is the great filter something we've already overcome, or does it still lie waiting, just ahead? Before you click away, ask yourself, what will your generation's choices contribute to humanity's cosmic story? Are you ready to be part of the first civilization to break the silence, or the last one to disappear? As long as the night remains silent, the question, and our fate, remain open.